Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are taking a sledgehammer to a really destructive myth. I'm talking about the idea that your intelligence, your talents, all of that is just locked in at birth. We're going to dive straight into the source material that actually proves your brain physically changes its shape based on how you use it. We'll be breaking down the hard science and the actual strategies behind the growth mindset. And look, I promise you by the end of this, you are going to see your own potential in a completely different light.
So think about this for a second. Were you born smart, or did you make yourself smart? You know, if you've ever completely bombed a test, lost money on a bad investment, or just really struggled to get a business off the ground, did you find yourself thinking, well, I guess I just wasn't born with the right gifts for this? It happens to all of us. But today, we are challenging that exact assumption head-on.
Here is our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The myth of fixed intelligence. 2. How your brain actually works. 3. The power of yet. 4. Turning failure into fuel. 5. Building habits that last. And finally, 6. Your lifelong growth plan.
Starting with Section 1, the myth of fixed intelligence, breaking the invisible prison. You know, we live in a world that is obsessed with natural talent. We look at incredibly successful people and we just naturally say, oh wow, they are just incredibly gifted, or they were born smart. But honestly, this creates this massive societal lie that success belongs to this tiny, lucky handful of people, while the rest of us just have to, settle for average. And what happens is society ends up putting us in these invisible prisons. We get handed labels like slow learner, poor student, not talented, or bad at business. And when we internalize these, whether it was an offhand comment from a parent, a teacher, or just one single past failure, they become totally self-fulfilling prophecies. The real tragedy isn't even the label itself. It's that when we accept these labels as just unchangeable facts of life, we literally stop trying. We settle for so much less than what we're actually capable of. We lock ourselves right inside that prison.
Which brings us to a really crucial divergence, the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. A fixed mindset essentially tells you that your talent is permanent. So every time you struggle, it feels like this massive, direct threat to your actual identity. People with this mindset tend to fear criticism, and they give up pretty quickly because, well, struggling makes them feel not smart. But a growth mindset? It's completely different. It views effort not as some kind of weakness, but as the exact, absolutely necessary path to mastery. It's this core belief that your abilities can and absolutely will improve through learning, practice, and just sheer persistence.
Moving into Section 2, how your brain actually works, the biological truth. Now, I know some of this might sound like, standard motivational advice, but let's look at the hard science here. Because personal development is not just psychology, it is a literal biological reality.
The undeniable scientific proof of this lies in neuroplasticity. Look, your brain is not a computer hard drive. Actually, scratch that, it's nothing like a hard drive with some fixed storage limit. It's incredibly malleable. There are these famous studies done on London taxi drivers, and they show that the memory centers of their brains literally grew in physical size after years of memorizing those ridiculously complex city streets. Whenever you challenge your brain, whether you're learning a new skill, reading, solving a complex problem, it is physically forming brand new neural pathways. It adapts and grows stronger, literally, just like a muscle.
But we do have to make a super clear distinction right here between knowledge and intelligence. So knowledge is simply what you know. It's that static, stored information you've gathered up over time. Intelligence, on the other hand, is your fluid, flexible ability to learn, understand, and actually use that information in real time. For example, a recent university grad might have a ton of formal knowledge, but a seasoned market trader who has spent years constantly adapting to wild customer demands, they have developed incredible fluid business intelligence. And the beauty is, both of them can keep growing because intelligence is actively developed through your experiences and continuous practice.
Let's hit Section 3, the power of yet, your pivot point. I want to introduce you to what is arguably the simplest yet absolutely most powerful tool in the entire growth mindset arsenal. It's a tiny little pivot, but trust me, it changes the whole game.
Think about how you talk to yourself. When you hit a brick wall and you say to yourself, I am not smart enough, boom, the door is slammed shut, the story's completely over. But if you just tweak that and say, I am not smart enough yet, you completely shift your reality. Adding that one tiny word acknowledges the struggle you're having right now, sure, but it keeps the door to your future possibilities totally wide open.
Our source puts this so beautifully, stating that small word, yet, changes everything. It keeps the door open for growth. By just using the word yet, you are actively signaling to your brain that whatever difficulty you're in right now does not equal a permanent defeat. You might not have the skill at this exact second, but with effort, you absolutely will get there.
All right, Section 4, turning failure into fuel, reframing setbacks. Let's be real. If you're going to grow, you are inevitably going to make mistakes. It's part of the deal. Very few words create more anxiety than the word failure. But listen, avoiding failure literally means avoiding growth.
What's really absolutely crucial to grasp here is how we process those mistakes when they happen. Someone with a fixed mindset sees failure as an identity. It's like, I failed the exam, therefore I am a failure. Or my business lost money, therefore I am incompetent. But a growth mindset, it sees failure strictly as an event. It simply means that one very specific attempt didn't pan out. The strategy failed, the event failed. But you are not a failure.
So how do we actually pull the useful data out of a failed event? We use a highly logical, step-by-step process. The next time you face a major setback, try to strip away the emotion and ask yourself these 4 things. 1. What happened? Just look at the raw reality of it. 2. Why did it happen? Try to pinpoint the root cause. 3. What could I do better? Find the actual lesson. And 4. What will I do differently next time? Like, let's say a big marketing campaign totally flops. Step 1. What happened? Super low click rate. Step 2. Why? Well, my copy was confusing. Step 3. The lesson. Simplicity converts better. Step 4. Next time. We run an A/B test with short-form copy. Do you see what happens there? Suddenly failure is no longer a disaster. It is literally pure educational fuel.
Section 5, building habits that last, the architecture of growth. We've talked a lot about the theory of resilience and the literal biology of your brain. But now we have to talk about the daily mechanical architecture of success. We've got to talk about your habits. Look, way too many people just wait around for a lightning bolt of motivation to strike. But motivation is incredibly unreliable. Highly successful people, they rely on automated systems, specifically something called the habit loop. It always starts with a cue, like waking up. That triggers the action, like working out, which gives you the reward, feeling energized for the day. When you intentionally build and repeat these loops over and over, whether it's reading for 20 minutes every morning or checking your finances every night, the behavior just becomes automatic. You don't even need motivation anymore. You just execute.
And why do these tiny daily habits matter so much? It comes down to the absolute magic of 1%. We are so wired to expect massive overnight transformation, but real, sustainable growth is gradual. If you can manage to improve by just 1% every single day, mathematically speaking, you become 37 times better by the end of a single year. That daily effort, reading a few pages, learning one concept, practicing a skill for a few minutes, it looks totally invisible in the short term. But the compounding results of that 1%, they are nothing short of extraordinary.
Bringing us to Section 6, your lifelong growth plan, the blueprint. Okay, so now that we understand the mindset, the biology behind it, and the mechanics of habits, it's time to actually put these tools in your hands. It is time to become the architect of your own future.
Here is a highly effective, incredibly straightforward daily routine pulled right from our source material that you can start using literally tomorrow. In the morning, review your goals, read for just 15 minutes, and plan out your day. In the afternoon, lock in on your most important tasks and consciously try to learn something completely new. Then, in the evening, reflect on whatever lessons you learned that day and prep for tomorrow. It sounds simple, right? But this exact routine creates this absolutely unstoppable momentum of continuous improvement.
I want to leave you with this final, really profound question to chew on. When you look back on your life 20, 30, 40 years from now, will you see someone who let fear, self-doubt, and those invisible prisons limit what they could achieve? Or will you see someone who realized their brain could literally change? Someone who embraced the power of yet, who squeezed every lesson out of failure, and who never, ever stopped growing? Look, the choice is entirely up to you. You can start building your growth mindset right now, today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep learning.